Let's talk about some good news, or some less confusing news at least. The Trans Census data in the UK proves that the quote unquote moral panic is wrong and highlights the need for non-binary recognition. We also have a secondary article that talks about the census dealing with undercounting older people in the community. What's the crux of what's going on in this census data?
So the reason why this census data is so important is because that this is a first of its kind sort of census, because it actually is collecting data on sexual orientation and gender identity in England and Wales. Around 1.5 million people, or 3.2% of the population in the census, identified themselves as gay, lesbian, bisexual, or as another sexual orientation. As well, 262,000, or 0.5%, said their gender identity was not the same as the sex they were assigned at birth. The figures also found an equal number of trans men and trans women in England and Wales, while 30,000 identified themselves as non binary. It was 48,000 for trans men and 48,000 for trans women. An additional 18,000 wrote a different gender identity. So this is pretty big news, because now we're beginning to see a picture of what the population is in a country that is currently targeting LGBTQ plus equality, as well as trying to find a way to root out transgender and non-binary individuals for further discrimination. The CEO of Stonewall, Nancy Kelly, called the data significant and said that the small size of trans population should put to bed any fake narratives. It's such a small population, the negative obsession we've got with it nationally, it's just not justified on the basis of these numbers. With a total of 262,000, what Nancy Kelly is saying is that there's really no reason to launch all of these fear campaigns that would seemingly make it look like that there is a trans invasion of England and Wales. So, that's one part of the aspect of this census data. The other side of that is that the information that was collected for people from 16 and over, of those, who completed the survey, what was discovered is that there are people, most likely, who are older adults, or people who don't like to be identified by labels from society, who did not actually get represented in that number. So the numbers could actually be higher. It could be that, non-responders are more likely to be LGBTQ plus because they don't want to disclose. They don't want to talk about their sexuality. They don't want to talk about their gender identity. They mistrust the government, thinking that if they identify, now they're going to be somehow, cataloged and then targeted later down the road, which I can understand that fear. That's a very real fear for us right now, having seen here in the U.S. Attorney General Ken Paxton wanting to acquire gender marker change information from the Texas Department of Safety. I mean, that's a very real fear. So it's possible that those who identify in older groups, or those who don't want to be labeled, may not have been a part of that. So those numbers could actually be higher.
Yeah, it was 7.5% of the people that responded to the census survey didn't fill in that section about being LGBT. So that's a big number.